and after the Great Flood. Are the Nephilim still around today? Theoretically, yes, as they remain disembodied evil spirits. Does the Nephilim gene still exist in humans today? I would hope not, and I wouldn't like to imagine that it existed in anyone today, given the complexities of how those genes could be passed down to even a second generation. Perhaps, if it is not still in human DNA, if Noah only took the purest of animals, then would it have survived in the beast of the waters? Does the Nephilim gene still remain in certain creatures? A genetic marker of the beast. So let's start with Genesis 6. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. This introductory statement sets the scene for the events to come. It highlights the increasing population and the existence of women as part of the growing human society. And as men and women are reproducing, the focus shifts to a particular interaction between two groups, the sons of God and the daughters of men. The interpretation of the term sons of God in this context has led to various interpretations over the centuries. There are three main interpretations. The first would be that these sons of God are...
So, the first video I showed you was the descendants of Cain. This, Nephilims, are the descendants of the fallen.
angelic beings, or divine entities who descended to earth and took human women as wives. In the book of Enoch, they are known as fallen angels.
Even though the body was destroyed in the flood, the spirit is what continues to live on, because water doesn't kill spirits.
Or the Watchers. This view sees the offspring of these unions as the Nephilim, who were considered to be extraordinary and powerful beings. Now, some would argue that the Nephilim are the fallen angels, as it translates to fallen ones. But where does that place the sons of God in the same context? So, typically, the Nephilim refer to the giants that are the offspring of angelic beings and human women. In the Sethite interpretation, it is believed that the sons of God were descendants of Seth, the son of Adam and Eve. In this view, sons of God refer to righteous and godly people from the lineage of Seth who intermarried with the ungodly descendants of Cain, which kind of makes sense because ultimately in Genesis 6, the blame is placed on man, where in the book of Enoch, there is a lot of the blame aimed at the sons of God, or in that context, the Watchers, which were 200 in number.
Do you want to see how a funny little saying like this, and about 76 minutes worth of work, made me $380,000?
Now, there is the kings and nobles interpretation, or the royal interpretation, that suggests the sons of God were kings, rulers, or powerful men who took advantage of their position to marry multiple women, regardless of the woman's consent. And of course, this interpretation would only be to the advantage of kings and nobles, when the children of the sons of God would have been the famous ones. The Nephilim are the ones we hear about in storybooks and mythology around the world. They are the ones of renown, not the fallen angels. The phrase, took them wives of all which they chose, suggests a lack of restraint or moral boundaries in their actions, which could have led to negative consequences, although in the book of Enoch they chose only one. In any case, these verses serve as a prologue to the larger narrative in Genesis 6, where the offspring of these unions and the growing wickedness of humanity became significant factors in the decision to bring about the Great Flood as a means of divine judgment and purification. The passage raises questions about the interactions between the divine and the human morality and the consequences of such interactions. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. In this verse, God is expressing a limitation on the time during which his spirit will strive with humanity. The statement, my spirit shall not always strive with man, suggests that God's patience with mankind's sinful behavior has a limit. The reason given for this limitation is that humans are flesh, implying their inclination toward worldly desires and sinful tendencies. Despite this, God grants a grace period of 120 years, indicating that a time of reckoning or divine judgment is approaching, which is appropriate timing because next he informs Noah of what is to come, and about 100 years later comes the Great Flood. Now the age-old question is, how did the Nephilim reappear after the Great Flood? The origin of the post-flood Nephilim is attributed to a different group known as the Sons of God. This group, distinct from those who interacted with human daughters before the flood, engaged with human daughters born after the flood. If these particular sons of God were fallen angels, they would form an additional group apart from those imprisoned in the abyss due to their previous relations with human females. This would result in two categories of fallen angels in the abyss: those who transgressed before the flood and those who transgressed after. In the scenario where the sons of God were human males, this interpretation would imply that divine instructions were given to the sons of Shem and or Japheth, prohibiting relations with the daughters of Ham and or Canaan. Disobeying this directive would seemingly lead to a second generation of Nephilim. Now, the main problem with this theory is that why would a second group of fallen angels commit to the same actions as the previous group after witnessing the punishment of the first group of angels? Or perhaps they valued ruining the human bloodline to prevent the birth of Christ more than they did their own existence. See, apparently Noah and his wife were just human, but all other flesh on the earth was corrupted, according to Scripture. So, if anyone carried the DNA of the Nephilim, it would have been Ham's wife, and through his son Canaan. Does that make sense? Since the Anakim, or descendants of the Nephilim, come out of the land of Canaan. And this is probably why we have two types of Nephilim: the extra-large, titan-sized monster that are described in mythology across the world, and the lesser giants, the shorter, smaller giants like King Og and Goliath, the post-flood giants. Before the flood, you had to take them out by destroying the world. After the flood, you take them out by just taking down their bloodline or kingdom. Of course,
Stop overpaying for electricity. I'm going to show you how to reduce your electric bill for free. I have this.
by the time you get to the modern era, you would only have traces of the Nephilim DNA. And the characteristics wouldn't be as dominant to produce giants. Although some people have expressions of giantism, right? The tale of the Nephilim serves as a fascinating bridge between the human and the divine, a realm where the boundaries blur. Their existence sparks discussions about the delicate balance between free will and divine influence, as well as the consequences of transgressing those moral boundaries. The idea that the phenomenon continued even after the catastrophic event, the Great Flood, raises questions about the resilience of ancient beliefs and the way mythologies adapt across time. Today, would it matter if certain people carry the Nephilim gene? Well, maybe that was one of the reasons for Christ walking the earth, to take care of these disembodied spirits that the Nephilim left behind, called demons. That's all for now. There is more to come. Be sure to. There are some
right,
changes
Israel.
being made to
Much love.
BillboardEntertainment.com.